Good morning, everybody, to this session. My name is Sergio Albani. I'm the head of the Research, Technology Development and Innovation Unit at the European Union Satellite Center. It is a real pleasure for me to be able to start with this session. Maybe we can already start with the first slide. So, as you can see here, the name of this side event is Earth Observation as a key tool to ensure civil security for society. Next. What we are going to do is, after this short introduction from my side, I will present some views on the topic from the European Union Satellite Center point of view, followed by Jean Dosart, that will present views from the European Commission, Pascal Leguet, views from the European Space Agency, and Rogerio Bonifacio, views from the World Food Programme. At the end, we will let some time for an open discussion, questions from the audience, and of course the closing. So we will have at least more or less 10 minutes for each of us. This event, as you can see, is intended to raise awareness of the importance of security as a global concept and on presenting how this concept of security is addressed within GEO. So we are currently moving, from the traditional way to intense security, in which we are analyzing traditional scenarios focused on a selected area, to a concept of new security, in which different domains like health, climate, food are interconnected. One example, for instance, is the so-called climate security, in which we can see the impact of climate change on the safety and the security of citizens and societies. So that's the aim of this event, to present within GEO how Earth observation can support civil security for society, to bring together some GEO initiative, and we will have presentation, as I was saying, from Commission, ESA, and WFP to present some running initiatives related to security, and then to set the basis for finding synergies within different actors in the field. Just to mention, to close this introduction, that this is a follow-up of this Enhancing Security on Earth from Space event that we organized in June within the GEO Symposium. So it's all for the introduction. I guess we can now start with the session. As I was mentioning, I will provide you with some views from the European Satellite Center on this topic. So let's start. Um, why Earth observation data are so important for civil security? Because they present unique characteristics. So we can have an historical registry to identify trends, to identify anomalies. We have a continuous monitoring of large areas. And we can estimate and predict, physical variables. I just mentioned here three of a number of important points that Earth observation can bring, to support the civil security for society. But now the problem, as I was anticipating in the introduction, is that we now have to move from this traditional concept of security to this new concept in which we have complex scenarios with different domains interconnecting. You can see some examples on the right of the slide: health security, food security, water security, environmental security. So basically, the idea is the impact that something happening on these domains can have on the security of citizens. Just to give you some examples here, extreme weather events have an impact on human behaviors. We have to go and monitor critical infrastructures, and to see the impact of the damages on the citizens' lives. Scarcity of resources. This is something more and more raising attention. That's because, where there's a scarcity of water, for instance, there can be conflicts in vulnerable regions, to have access to this resource. And finally, as another example, we can see how food security and health security, I'm not going to mention here the impact that the COVID pandemic is currently having on us, but this is having, of course, an impact on global human partners. So, what we are doing at the European Union Satellite Center. As you know, the European Union Satellite Center is an EU agency. We are located in the vicinity of Madrid in Spain, and we have to support the European Union in the field of the common foreign and security policy by analyzing data from space-based assets. In particular, within SATSEN, we have an operational department and a capability development one. The unit I'm responsible for, the so-called RTDI, Research, Technology Development and Innovation, is responsible for implementing new operational solutions, looking at the whole Earth observation and collateral data life cycle. You can see some examples of the areas we are currently dealing with, new data sources. So for instance, HAPS, high altitude pseudo satellites, how they can be inserted within the SATSAT operational chain. We are dealing with the secure SATCOM. Actually, we are leading the gathering of user requirements for the incoming EU program on GovSatcom led by the Commission. Innovative technologies, so we are the ones exploring the usage of artificial intelligence and big data within SATSEN, developing Earth observation applications. For instance, we are quite interested in the usage of SAR data for change detection purposes. And all these activities, we are currently performing them in frames of cooperation. So you can see in the bottom of the slide a number of projects within the Horizon 2020 framework program by the Commission. We are currently participating in, ranging from big data up to artificial intelligence and other technologies in different domains. And we have a number of cooperation in place, in particular the one with the European Space Agency, and also SATSEN is a GEO participating organization. Next. So just to mention some initiatives relevant with this concept of new security, in particular climate security, that we are currently running in SATSEN. The first one is one Horizon 2020 project called GEM, Global Earth Monitor. Within this project, we are exploring the climate security nexus, correlating various data sources, Earth observation, meteorological data, ancillary data, and various models in support, to see how we can guarantee the security of citizens. Within another H2020 project called AI4 Copernicus, we launched a number of open calls related to security. Here, the idea is to bridge the gap between the Earth observation and artificial intelligence world by implementing a number of pilot projects addressing scenarios such as climate security again, maritime situational awareness, and critical infrastructure monitoring. Last but not least, I want to mention a new pilot recently approved within the eShape project. It's called Friend. And here the idea is to develop applications to address, again, the climate security issues by assessing the impact and the risk of flooding, so the risk for population, through the application of automatic change detection chains using Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 images. Let me now move to Geo. What we are doing within Geo. SATSEN in 2015 established and now is leading a community activity called Space and Security, the only one dealing with the security within Geo. You can see the current participants, World Food Program, ESA, Eurogeo Surveys, BKG, and the Institute for Water Education of UN. Of course, if you want to join the community, just let us know, and we will look for it. We will be pleased to accommodate your request. And the idea is to support the achievement of the well-being and security of countries and citizens by exploiting suitable space assets and collateral data. So we are working towards raising awareness and adoption of geospatial open data, citizen science, in situ data, and advanced technology within the stakeholders belonging to the space and security domain. What we are doing within Geo, the idea is to provide a forum for discussion and capacity building, to contribute to relevant R&D initiatives, to collect technological needs, to identify gaps that we can fill using space technologies, to develop innovative applications, and to build synergies with relevant geo activities. Last but not least, within the 2020-2022 Space and Security Community Activity Work Plan, we are now implementing a relevant pilot. So together with all the partners you can see in the picture, we are using a platform we developed at SATSEN, and we are implementing a scenario related for relevant for security. So basically to demonstrate how within this cooperative environment we can implement real services then useful for the for supporting the security of citizens. Last slide from my side. So some conclusions. First point, Earth observation and of course all the associated technologies, so for instance big data, artificial intelligence and so on, are to us key tools to face security challenges, and in particular these new complex scenarios I was presenting at the beginning of the presentation, in which different domains, health, climate, food, also disasters, extreme weather events, are interconnected with the security of citizens. Second point, SATSEN is participating in multiple initiatives on this topic, and in particular, we are addressing these through research and innovation activities, mainly within the Horizon 2020 Commission program, and with putting in place a number of cooperative activities with the European Space Agency and the Group on Earth Observation. In particular, within GEO, we have this space and security community activity in which we are working to, to raise this concept of security within GEO and to respond to identified security stakeholder needs. Last point, and this is a question that we are trying now to answer to with these events that we are currently organizing, before within the symposium, now within the GEO Week, how we can somehow expand, the security footprint within GEO. And our idea is there are for sure already within GEO a number of activities in a number of domains like health, climate, and food, already having a security component. So a first important step for us should be to identify these geo security related activities and connect them through a sort of security umbrella, maybe benefit from the already existing space and security community activity. And this way we can, introduce this new area within geo and to maximize the benefit for the whole geo ecosystem. That's my view on the point, and I will be delighted then to listen the views from the other speakers. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can raise them at the end of the session after the other speakers, or maybe you can just write me an email offline. So now I will move to our first speaker. That's Jean Duzard from the European Commission. Jean is the head of the sector of on environmental observation at the European Commission. And when he joined the DG R&I, he was leading the Eurogeo initiative, that is, as you know, the European contribution to the group on Earth observation. So, Jean, the floor is yours. Thank you for having accepted our invitation to participate to this session.
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to join this session and to share with you the European Commission view on the civil security for society and how we can help encouraging and ensuring that Earth observation is used for that purpose. Next slide, please. Before going into the details, let me just share with you some introductory remarks about space-based systems that are making really an increasingly important contribution to the European security and to the European Union Common Security and Defense Policy. So indeed, Europe is facing evolving security threats that are more diverse, less visible, less predictable than before. And to be able to address them and deal with them, we need the best affordable capabilities for autonomous political assessments, sound decision making, put in place prevention policies, and being effective in terms of action. So we consider that space assets provide a significant contribution to confronting these threats through their global monitoring, communication, and positioning capabilities. And in particular, we are very proud to have launched a couple of years with the member states the European Earth Observation Program Copernicus, that in this case can contribute to improve emergency response, global stability, and homeland security by contributing to different service. And certainly in the course of the discussion, we will refer to those Copernicus service that helps providing support in terms of surveillance, border control, or even global food security. Next slide, please. What I would like to focus on, rather than this very broad context, it's what the European Union and the European Commission, in particular via its Horizon Europe program, is providing in terms of fundings available for research and innovation actions. I focus on a specific cluster of Horizon or Research and Innovation Program, Horizon Europe, and in particular on a number of topics we want to support in the first work program that was launched in June this year, and that covers the years 21 and 22. So we have secured 72 million euro to provide topics on the implementation of international policy frameworks, so the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, the Paris Agreement, and the Sustainable Development Goals that are just by coincidence the geo-engagement priorities. At that time, the fourth engagement priorities that was adopted this week was not yet formalized, so it was just too early to refer to it. But we have called as well on EU disaster risk management policies, tackling natural and man-made threats. Of course, those calls in particular are of direct interest to help secure the European Green Deal priorities, including the new EU climate adaptation strategy that was adopted earlier this year. The link below, sorry for this very long link, when the slides will be distributed, allow you to go directly to the Horizon Europe Cluster 3 Civil Society for Security and see in more details the goals that are available. But just on the next slide, please. You will see example of topics that we have published in this first work program of Horizon Europe. The calls for 2021 are already closed and they are currently under evaluation. And so we hope that in the coming months, we will be able to release more public information on who are the winners of the call. But very important and interesting for you is the calls that are foreseen for the next year. Some are already open, and in particular, there is enhanced citizens' preparedness in the event of a disaster or crisis-related emergency, enhanced preparedness and management of high-impact, low probability or unexpected events, or improve impact forecasting and early warning systems supporting the rapid deployment of first responders in vulnerable areas. If those calls are not directly tackling or mentioning Earth observation, clearly they all appreciate the use and recognize the benefits of using Earth observation data. You will not find so clearly spelled out calls elsewhere in the Horizon Europe program, focusing especially on civil society for security. But I encourage you to look at the work program of Horizon Europe, in particular the other clusters 4, 5, and 6, where there are a number of very relevant goals that are worth to have a look, and that are more focused on Earth observation, information, and service. I will share after my presentation in the chat a fact sheet that we have drafted this summer that give you some directions on where to find in this enormous program the relevant goals. Next slide, please. Looking now from my Eurogeo project manager perspective, how we can help civil security for society, I think we can help in identifying existing Earth observation applications under development in Europe, and Sergio referred already in his presentation to the E-shape pilots. The applications that have the highest potential to respond to European security needs, but that are still requiring further demonstration, incubation, upscaling, deployment or replication before becoming fully operational. We are interested and we think we can contribute in upscaling selected pilot applications by streamlining innovation instruments available in the European Union, and our colleagues from DG DEFIS launched the Cassini program, or other instruments available internationally to actively promote synergies. Then we can as well help in connecting the Eurogeo pilot applications and the related geo actions to allow for appropriate scaling up from national to European up to global scale, or even scaling down from global to regional scale. Next slide, please. So how then some recommendation on how the security flag, if I can call it like that, could be raised in the geo community. Make the best use of the grants I have present earlier. Try to build solid use case, mobilize the stakeholder to the action groups that we have put in place in Eurogeo to develop pre-operational service that are closer to understand security issue in terms of the nexus on agriculture, food, or disaster resilience. Don't hesitate to promote further the Copernicus Security Service to the Geo Flagships initiative and community activities. And yesterday we had a very interesting presentation from our colleagues from GRC in the plenary on wildfires. Help us as well to develop an ambitious work program in Geo, moving maybe from a community activities to initiative. But of course, this requires a well-structuring working group and our engagement team. And I think that was my last slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jean. Thank you very much. It was a very comprehensive presentation. You basically addressed all the topics. I'm also quite interested to follow you in the discussion on the topic as we are already doing. This last point you mentioned is quite interesting, actually, but we cannot do it right now, unfortunately, because we have our second speaker that I'm very glad to introduce. He is Pascal Leguet. He was the SATSEN director for a long time, while currently, before he was a senior security advisor to the European Space Agency Earth Observation Director in Frascati, while now he is the senior security coordinator to the ESA Director General in Paris. So Pascal, it's a real pleasure to have you here. The floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Okay, very good. So thanks a lot, Sergio, for this opportunity to say a few words on the space-related solutions, in particular Earth observation, to face international security risks. This is the title of my presentation. The next slide. Yes, you perfectly know the international security context. You have some examples on the slide. but I would like to express a first idea. The fact that security challenges are clearly interconnected. And as an example, the climate change. Climate change is probably the main security challenge. And this climate change is directly impacting agriculture, water resources in particular. And when we have food security issues, it triggers migration. Migration, that means also human trafficking. And human trafficking is also financing terrorism. Just to give you a quick example of the connection between climate change and the consequences, we can add also to this general picture the geopolitical instability for various reasons, territorial disputes, for instance, or strategic resources issues. So, as you know, we have a permanently evolving security context. The next slide, and you have probably in mind these terrible events during the last summer, the floods in Germany, for instance. And the next one is the fires in Greece. Yes. So we are witnessing today an acceleration in the frequency of disaster, and there is an urgency to act. And in particular, the next slide, please. Yes, concerning how to support, how to contribute to these terrible events, and in particular to support rescue teams on the ground. So today, what we are doing at ESA is to examine this context, the security challenges, the priorities, and to design, to develop possible solutions with under I would say, the lead of the ESA member states. And in particular, we have in such context, security context, we have two options. Either we can anticipate dramatic situations, or if we cannot anticipate, we must react in real time, in any case, in near real time. This is a question of what we call resilience, to have the capacity to react. And in this regard, of course, Earth observation is of paramount importance to monitor large areas, then to focus on smaller areas of interest, what Sergio mentioned at the beginning. The next slide, please. Yes. Of course, the consequences are the following. We have, of course, the human lives. This is the key aspect of such difficult situations, to save lives. But also there is an impact on the economy, economic impact. Just an example. It's a security situation as well. The Suez Canal blocked by this big container ship, and the estimate was 9.5 billion per day. The consequence of this such a situation. Also for the German floods, I mentioned just before, the fact that the estimate is around 30 billion, also in terms of recovery fund. The next slide, please. So the ESA initiatives. Today we are thinking about how to use in an optimal way the existing capacities, the planned capacities, to interconnect these different assets in a secure and fast way, how to circulate data in a fast and secure way, and to ensure the control from sensors to end users. And you have a small presentation, a small scheme on the slide. Also to use connectivity, secure connectivity. We are also at the moment working on this 3D optical network to circulate again data in a very fast way. So the challenge today is in terms of data collection, in terms of data transmission, and in terms as well of data transformation. The next slide. Yes, and this ongoing work at ESA level is based on two main components. One is called information, the other one is network. You have understood that it's important to collect data, but also to transmit this data in due time to the relevant users. So this fast collection and circulation is important, and we try to approach to act in a near real time, but also to guarantee, I said, in a safe way, to guarantee availability of data, integrity, confidentiality. This is a big challenge. We have also threats when we speak about cyber. This is part of this security picture. Also using not only satellites, not only constellations of small or micro satellites, but also to combine the satellites with other sensors, mentioning in particular the HAPS, the pseudo satellites, but also open sources, terrestrial sensors as well, and resorting to artificial intelligence, the quantum capacities as well, what we call the high performance computing, and all 5G, CG, 6G capacities as well. The next slide. Just to give you a quick example, linking this data and communication, probably you know the capacities of ESA, either using Sentinel satellites, but also acquiring commercial data. And you have again this example of this green evergreen container ship blocking the Suez Canal, and using also what we call a system, EDRS, meaning European Data Relay Satellite System. This is a constellation of telecommunication satellites in geostationary orbit to relay information to and from non-geostationary satellites, spacecraft, and other vehicles to circulate again in a fast way, secure way, data. The next slide is this one. I said at the beginning that what is important is to anticipate dramatic events. And today, ESA is working in a very constructive way with the Commission, with DG Connect in particular, but also with the meteorological agencies, EUMETSAT, for instance, or ECMWF, to gather data. The purpose of this digital twinners is to develop a digital model of our planet in order to perform, to simulate and to predict possible dramatic events. This is an important work, but also relying on quantum technology. And as mentioned on the slide, unlocking the potential of quantum technology to observe our planet and its processes in unprecedented ways. The next slide is this one. What is important also, I mentioned the data. The data is a central substance we need to use. And also, today we are developing a different data storage capacities, smart storage, to give a flexible access to users, to users community, to data. And we are also working on this concept of data space. This is within the framework of the Gaia-X. This is an initiative to collect, to gather data, to structure this data in an efficient way. And at the moment, we are working on the ecosystem, an ecosystem approach. That means we are focusing on one user community. For instance, agriculture is one topic, one ecosystem, tourism, health, and many other subjects like that. But we realized, of course, that for these different communities, they are using the same data. Weather forecast, for instance, is a good example. And now the purpose is to interconnect, to federate the different ecosystems to improve and to the added value of this the data from data. The next one, I think this is my final slide, just to summarize the different points I mentioned. Again, it's important to optimize the data collection with the satellites, constellations, apps, drones, and other sensors, but also to circulate. There is also this, I mentioned the optical 3D network we call iDrone today. Also to have optimal ground segments, what we call smart ground segments, not only to passively receive data, but also to contribute to the processing of data. And we have also different initiatives. Sharp Eyes to use commercial data to support public needs. This Digital Twinners initiative, this is a very important one again. And also this concept of data space. So you have on the slide the different elements I mentioned. I would like to conclude saying that regarding the group on Earth observation, I see its role to me. You will confirm if I'm right or not for GEO to confirm needs and priorities and to examine how Earth observation-related solutions can take up identified security challenges through a constructive cooperation. This is my general view on the role of GEO. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pascal, for your speech. And thank you for accept our invitation and join us. Our last speaker, Rogerio Bonifacio from the World Food Program. He is the Senior Climate and Earth Observation Analyst in the Research Analysis and Monitoring Division. He's an expert in application of remote sensing, and I guess he will present to us some example of them. Rogerio, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Right,
So
finally.
our technical issues was solved.
Yes,
the floor is yours.
Thank you, okay, I won't put on my camera because I don't want to touch the setup since we make it work. So let me continue like this. So it's just really to give you a quick overview of the way we use Earth observation at the World Food Program, specifically in the context of security. I think Omar will lead the, if you can move to the next, yes. I mean, it's no news to anyone. Pascal has really made the point of that, the complexity that security issues have on the global geopolitical and humanitarian issues. And indeed, conflict has become a major driver of humanitarian assistance needs for World Food Program and many humanitarian agencies. And most of our largest operations indeed are in areas where conflict is such a major driver. And you know pretty much all the locations that are listed here, and the first big ones came out of that for crisis in the early 2000s, but this has been going on for years now. The civil war in Syria and Yemen, the never-ending conflict in DRC, current situation in Sahel, Somalia, South Sudan. These are names familiar from the main news channels. This is a situation which is not really improving much. The number of active violent conflicts has been increasing. So these are some numbers from 2019, but the situation hasn't really improved too much. And this are precisely happening in what were already poor, fragile, and food insecure areas, and there's been a persistent driving up of the needs in humanitarian assistance, putting increasing pressure on the food program to scale up its assistance and to prevent a worsening of food crisis. Next slide. This has been receiving increasing attention. Now the WFP and FAO provide high-level biannual reports to the United Nations Security Council, fairly detailed reports. They usually concentrate on kind of given hotspots. Let this report focus on 5 countries and 2 broad regions where we see conflict as developing. And at the time for these 5 countries and 2 regions, just the number of people in need of urgent food, nutrition, and livelihood assistance was about 30 million, and that has actually increased since then, particularly considering the overlaying of impact of COVID-19. Next slide. It's very colorful, but not one I was expecting. Okay, thank you. So in terms of the role of Earth observation, an agency that's for the past 10 years has become quite a large user of Earth observation data, mainly in terms of the areas we're talking about. It's essentially to monitor hazard impacts in conflict areas, because natural hazards, when they interact with conflict, it's really has the effect of potentiating the impacts on food insecurity and nutrition in vulnerable populations. The key element is to generate evidence for our operations, both in current terms, but also to provide long-term impacts, an overview of scenarios of long-term impacts. And frequently we need to derive ancillary information for these areas, and given the difficulties in access, only Earth observation can actually do that. An example, for instance, is to figure out the kind of impacts on livelihood resources such as croplands. For that, we have now the team that we put together, the team I lead, is now about 20 people. And we do most of our own processing of data. So we mobilize data sets from Sentinel satellites, from the usual kind of rainfall estimates, MODIS data, a wide variety of data sets that are brought to bear and analyzed in-house for in order to be able to generate very tailored, very specific information to our operations. I'll give you a few practical examples. Omar, if you can bring the next slide. And some of these are unfolding as we speak. We have major multi-year flooding in South Sudan, a country which has been in a protracted civil war since 2014. And we have now a situation, for instance, developing where over 100,000 people are kind of stranded in a former protection of civilian sites run by IOM. You can see it highlighted in yellow there. And we've been using, and this is a very recent image from last week, using Sentinel data to operationally monitor the development of the flood extent and to see what possible means of transport of humanitarian assistance there are for that point there. So we need to, kind of mobilize these data sets quickly. We need to have analysts that can respond to the demands from our field offices in the ground. And next one, at a much wider scale, this is again very recent data just been produced about 3 days ago on the unfolding situation in East Africa. So we keep monitoring at the global level. This is just for East Africa, but we do this kind of analysis at global level, monitoring the situation on a 10-day regularity. And this is what's unfolding now in Somalia, and particularly in Somalia for us, because that's really the hot point where insecurity and the effect of non-state armed groups can have a major impact. But it's also unfolding into Southeast Ethiopia, for instance, which, as you know, is ongoing with a civil war situation developing. And we need to keep track of these events, and we provide regular reports to country offices, highlight the areas of major concern so that they can bring it in and factor this information into, with the relevant information they are able to capture and out of local conditions. Further on, Omar. Conflict frequently leads to abandonment of agricultural resources. This is in the Sahel. Again, major conflict between this, in this case, was between pastoralists and farmers, not just from non-state armed groups, but now it's kind of a developing, and these two aspects, the ages-old conflict between pastoralists and herders, now melding with the actions of informal militias, banditry groups, developing into a very complex situation. And we have, luckily, the power of Sentinel satellites to enable us to really keep an eye on developments and evaluate the extent of productive land, for instance, which is essential for a food-based assistance, humanitarian assistance agency like ours. Next slide. And this has now been, the importance of Earth observation has been recognized by donors. We essentially a donor-funded organization. We don't have the funds from the kind of a core UN budget. And our regional bureau in Dakar is now launching a major initiative to maximize the use of Earth observation to monitor the situation across the Sahel. This is with support from ECHO for the next few years. And essentially this will kind of bring the usage of Earth observation at a variety of scales. So from the kind of low resolution, high frequency, the 5 kilometer, 1 kilometer resolution data to obtain broad sweeps on the impact of natural hazards, rainfall variations, rainfall variability, vegetation development, etc., down to the use of Sentinel data to evaluate, and you see there, maybe not so visible, but the red areas are areas identified as impacted by conflict with abandonment of settlements and cropland. So this is for the next few years. We hope that this will really bring in all the power of a variety of different remote sensing platforms to be applied onto a critical problem for us, but not just for us, the organization, to all the stakeholders that with whom we work, including governments of the region. Moving forward, I think for the last slide, and of course, we have engagements with the private sector for provision of very high resolution satellite data, essentially to monitor the changes in refugee camps, changes in settlements. We see here, for instance, at the time when the land abandonment was taking place because of conflict, we would see the building of additional dwellings in nearby settlements that were used as safe places for congregation of populations abandoning the surrounding countryside. So we need to look at all of these. The tendency for us is to look at pretty much all the different sources of Earth observation data, because of course this is something that happens at a variety of spatial scales and time scales. So we're able not only to look at the very high resolution regional scale data for the mainly climate hazards and their evolution, all the way down to the effects that are extant on refugee camps, small settlements throughout and across that kind of a continuum of spatial resolutions, figuring out impacts on land cover and livelihood resources. And this will rely still mainly on, we take seriously this kind of issues. We are really developing internal capacities, but also, of course, looking into external sources and partnerships to make this more effective. We've been recipients of H2020 grants precisely on applications of Earth observation. We have ongoing partnerships with the European Space Agency, the NASA survey program, and we're constantly looking for more and more partnerships, academia, for instance, to enhance our products and bring some interesting research results to bear on our problems. So it's a flourishing area. I mentioned my team has now 20 people. 2 years ago, we had something like 7. So it just kind of tells you something about the growing importance of Earth observation for the World Food Programme and for other UN agencies. But for us, the key issue is that we are very much an operational agency, and we have critical needs, and that can only, as I think I've made clear, can only be met by a coordinated and holistic use of Earth observation data. I'll stop now, and that's my presentation. Thanks very much for your attention. Oh, I forgot this one, but essentially just the last point where we have the application satellite data to kind of get more information on the composition of livelihood resources in critical areas such as Northeast Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rogerio, for this presentation. So I guess you are a bit out of time, but maybe we have time for questions. I can see one on the chat. NSO supports EU-based services for pastoralists in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. How can we cooperate? Services are provided by NGO SNV and Orange Telecom. I guess it's for you, Rogerio, if you can
Yeah. Mhm.
answer quickly.
Well,
And maybe,
I think-
Rogerio, maybe if you can also, to take this back to the geo context. So how these activities that you are currently presenting to us can be, somehow feeding this security umbrella that we would like to create within geo.
Yeah. Well, this quick question, essentially, yeah. I mean, let's be in contact. So I think you have my email, and we can see how how we can possibly integrate these services in the initiative for the Sahel that is taking off now. So I think we can have that as just contact me. I think I've seen you on LinkedIn, so we can establish contact and move from there. Joe is, for us also, as a prime ground, I guess, for establishing partnerships and to define new ways to cooperate. We've been longstanding, be part of this initiative on geosecurity. We've also been part of GeoPlan for global agricultural monitoring. So we. I think I wish we could do a bit more. We just really need to engage. But I think we see Geo as being a prime mover in terms of the partnerships that we have to develop to better face up to these future risks. We're looking to develop applications, as you know, and to benefit from new initiatives that partners like you can open for us. And I think it's something that we'll explore intensely in the next coming years.
Okay, thank you very much, Rogerio. I guess we are quite at the end of this session. I don't know if Jean or Pascal, if you want to add something after having seen all the presentations.
Maybe just if I can say a word, I think that indeed, as you have seen, we have been supporting and funded many projects where our focus essentially on the ones dealing on disaster risk management, especially in Europe. I didn't mention that much, but we have as well many projects for developing, for example, a climate service in Africa, in the southern part of Africa, but as well in the horn of Somalia, like Focus Europe, coordinated by WMO, and I think I see interesting opportunities for those projects as well to present their results in events that your community activity might organize. Thank you.
Yes, just to add one point to say that, as mentioned previously, the fact that the cooperation between the Commission with the European point of view, cooperation between the Commission, the European Space Agency, and member states is of course essential. And what is also essential is the fact that to design and to develop new capacities, the connection with the users, people with the feet on the ground, is of course essential to have systems meeting their needs. That's it for me. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this session.
So thank you, everybody. I can see here we have all the components. We have users, we have Commission, we have ESA. So there's all the actors already here in around this table. So let me just conclude with a final wrap up. First of all, I would like to thank you all the participants to this session and all the speakers, of course, Jean, Pascal, and Rogerio. I want also to thank the Geo Secretariat for having supported us in organizing this session. In particular, Sara Venturini was very supportive with this. I want also to thank Omar Barillero from SATS, that he was the one behind the scene managing in a perfect way all this event. With regard to this event, I guess that we move one step forward within the objective of this meeting, that was actually the similar to the meeting we organized in the previous Geo Symposium. So to somehow to raise this flag that there's the need also within Geo to have a security area, domain, or whatever we can call it, in which we can somehow coordinate all the different initiatives and to have this sort of common umbrella that I personally believe that we can make something interesting for the benefit of Geo and all the stakeholders involved. I'm very pleased to have seen the views from Jean, from Pascal, and from Rogerio. I see they are all of them quite supportive on this. So I look forward for continuing the discussion with all of them, and let's see how we can proceed in the best way on this direction. And before to conclude, I just want to mention that we are organizing within IGARS 2022 an event on civil security. The name is Addressing New Complex Security Scenarios with the Earth Observation Data. It will be another occasion in which we can somehow to raise this topic. So if someone of you is interested in participating, it's an invited session, just let me know and we can arrange this participation. So again, thank you very much to all the speakers, participants, to Geo, and I do hope we will be able to meet maybe physically soon. Thank you very much to all of us, to all of you, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.